Hey guys, how's it going? Keith Allen back after a fantastic weekend and coming into, I think, what's going to shape up to be a pretty busy week here. Let me go ahead and fade out and get you know. I'm going to dig the groove here for a second here. Man, let's today's topic. What's up? We're talking, of course, Bitcoin been rising a bit here after a flat weekend, but liquidity-based sentiment for sub 60K price level seems to be evaporating. We're going to look at that. Try and figure out what's pushing price up right now because things seem to be, well, a little weird. So let's start looking at charts here and see if we can figure out just exactly what is happening here. With that, let's go ahead and start with fire chart. Actually, you know what? I want to start on the candle chart here because we did start things out after a green. I'm going to even go to a different chart that I haven't shown you guys in a little while. We're going to go look at my long-term Bitcoin chart and take a look at how things ended up here after the week. We did, of course, get a green weekly close, which was nice to see, and even nicer to see this green trend precognition signal here, the A2 plus signal here, which incidentally, this is a tentative signal. It came in last night right at the close. / open, which is a good thing. And it has gained some significant strength since then, which is also a good thing. But what's a little bit confusing is the momentum actually seems to be, I'm seeing some indicators that show momentum going down a little bit. So price is moving against that right now. So we have to see if we can make sense of this all, right? At the moment, you can see price now pumping up to 67,800 or so after what was really a flat weekend. Taking a look to the daily chart, of course, we know that we have some levels that we need to really take out. We need an RS flip that we haven't confirmed here at 69K. That's the 2021 top. As you can see, we spent all this time trying to beat it, and we just never did. We just kept wicking down below it. And that need is not surprising. Last week, of course, we had a week's worth of, I actually thought some of it was mixed, but I guess it was leaning towards the positive direction in terms of the economic reports and the Fed speak that came out last week. The market certainly interpreted that way. And so we did have some upside coming from that, got some momentum from that. And then, of course, taking a look at those ever important ETF flows. This was noteworthy. Okay. We had 5 consecutive days of net positive flows. Notably, Grayscale only sold on one of those days. Monday, they were flat. Tuesday, they sold about 51 million, and then net positive the following 3 days. BlackRock, on the other hand, was flat in the beginning of the week and started buying again aggressively as things moved up at the tail end of the week as we got more of that economic news. So there's that, and those were certainly big momentum builders. On the subject of Grayscale, by the way. This morning, it was announced that Grayscale CEO Michael Sonnenshein has resigned, and a new CEO will be coming in from from Goldman, actually, and he's going to start on August 15th. Now, obviously, I think we're all speculating that those exorbitant 1.5% fees are probably going to be coming down pretty soon, and likely. That would be bullish because there's going to be more flow, more inflow coming out of Grayscale. We saw a lot of outflow. A lot of that outflow, I think, was actually possibly moving into, some of the other offerings from BlackRock or Fidelity per se. But we'll know soon enough, right? Nonetheless, that's a positive note. We got more news related stuff we'll discuss here in a minute. But I want to get back into the charts here. So going back over to this chart here. We also have, the RSI has backed off a bit. We were relatively overcooked here for a little while on the weekly time frame. For a long time, actually, since back in October, we were pretty hot. Things cooled off, and then we spiked again through March, and now we had this cooling off with a nice V-shaped recovery here at the moment, and still not yet overbought. So this also obviously leaves more room for potential upside here happening. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this that sentiment seemed to be fading at those lower levels, and so I want to go ahead and take a look at fire charts now, and we can take a look at the liquidity as it is moving through the order book. And this movement, man, this to me is what seems a bit choreographed, and this weekly chart illustrates it really, really well here. First of all, the first thing I noticed this morning, we had a little bit of this liquidity from down the 60K level is just gone, right? Sometimes you can notice that it turned into a market order. Maybe some of it did, but it doesn't look like much, right? You're not seeing any real serious vertical action here on the CVD from there. And you don't see it moving up into any of these places, kind of tip to tail like we often see. But what we do see happening pretty aggressively here is on the ask side. We've got a bit of movement here in terms of the liquidity and how it's being placed and what that exactly is doing, right? So we had this sell wall here up at what? This is like 67, low 67s up to mid 67s. It's not like a huge range, right? But we did have some liquidity stacked here. It pulled, it moved up higher, and then it moved lower, and then it pulled again, and then it came back in, and then guess what? It's now moving higher. And I think that these guys were trying to. We could probably even see this better on the lower time frame. You can here, right? So here's where you really see. We could call this choreographed. We could call it manipulation. Call it fair play. I don't care what you call it. You see it. You can see what the net effect of it is, right? So we had this. This was really a ceiling. Since over the last 24 hours that came into play and kept price down. And once we saw it pulled, that gave a glimmer of hope. We saw price moving up, and then it moved back in. It pushed price back down, and then it pulled and moved higher. Price started to go up. And then we saw some, a bit of stair stepping down. It came down again. So I think here's my interpretation of this, and this is not advice. This is just my interpretation on things. And what I think is happening here is they're basically trying to lure in shorts here to eventually squeeze, and that squeeze may be coming into play because they pulled it once again, right? And so we will have to wait and see how this plays out. But obviously, when that door opens, we saw that buying come in with volume here. So the market wants to go up. The market really does want to go up. But you always have to be cautious. Now, and the fact that we don't have a ton of liquidity down here is a bit concerning, right? So if things go up, how high could it go from here? Well, as I said, this 69K level is one that's important to me. It doesn't actually have a ton of liquidity on it right now. All right. But remember what I said, where I thought that we were seeing some of the sentiment, some of the momentum fade. And I put the MACD on here. And literally in the last few minutes, this has just flipped to pink. So that means maybe it's regaining a little momentum here. But you can see the A1 slope line has angled down a bit from its trajectory. It's compressed here in this range. So let me just show it to you. You can see it was, on a pretty good incline, pretty good trajectory. And this just shows weakness. Doesn't necessarily mean that price is going right down immediately. It just means that momentum is fading a bit. Now this could change because it does adjust. So this could change at any time. And I'm looking at a weekly time frame here. So on the daily, let's see what it's doing. It was on a pretty solid downward trajectory, and now it's starting to tick up a bit. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of a change here right before our eyes. Okay, so let's go back to the chart here. So that 69K level, real important to me. We don't have a ton, and look, we're seeing some strength come back in here to the MACD. This is literally in the last few minutes. Am I seeing this happen, right? And so if we go back over to fire charts, we can see there's not a ton of liquidity here at 69K, right? There's less than $8 million. That could change anytime, but there's not a lot there. So 70K is the more psychological level here, even though I believe that 69 is more technical. We've come past this many times. We've come past the 69K level many times, and that could very much happen again this time. and we could go up to 70. We could even go beyond it. The question is, will we be able to hold it? And if you look back at history, you can see all the times that we've attempted to break it and just were not successful. Let me clear out trend precognition now. You got the idea on that one, and we can clean up the chart a little bit. So you can see how many times we've had a hard time, holding above it. Breaking it is not enough. Printing full candle bodies above it without wicking below it is what we need to see. I view those wicks below as signs of weakness, which they played out to be time and time again. Eventually, we got to get up there. And we need to start, we don't have to. We don't have to do anything, because if I said we had to do something, I would have said we have to go retest these levels. And we just haven't. Technically, I'd love to see that happen. But as we saw in fire charts, there's just no sentiment for those levels anymore. Certainly none for this, very little for this mid 40s range, and very little in place on the 50 to 52K range now since last week. So now, if we could make it up here, could we go higher? And I think that we can. I think there's room to do that. And if we just if we consider this to be a validating slope line here, then or falling wedge, I should say, then we could take the measured move from the top of the wedge, right? And then we move this over to where the breakout level is, which was, we'll call it right. Actually, I think it's going to be about right here. So that would call for a 70. I'm not placed right, but I'm close. So that's going to be in the 73 range. It's not going to be quite all-time high territory. Could be once we get there. We could see liquidity move in there to push it up, but at the moment, it is conceivable that we could pull 73K. There is, as you can see, quite a bit of liquidity up higher. Let me refresh that. We have quite a bit of liquidity above 70K, obviously, and a lot of that has faded here in the past. But is it going to be enough? Looks like we just cleared the 68K level, and a lot of traffic on the network right now. So things slowing down. Let me see if I can pop this up for us really quick. Hang on a second. I have a solution. Okay. How about that? How about we go there? So here you can see that we have, up above, quite a bit of liquidity right overhead. So that's going to take a lot to get through that. I want to see more coming into the bid side of things to help us get up there. Here, let me go back to this. Let's pop that out. All right. Now is it showing? There it is. Okay. So we have no, it's still there. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. That's what I came to do. And I can get my overlay back. Beautiful. I'm making magic, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. So as you can see, we have a lot overhead. And if I add this little bit of filtering here, we can make it easier to see where the contrast is, easier to see where the higher volume is, and a lot up here. Sure, it's faded since, over the past month and even longer, but it's still going to take, in my opinion, a lot to get up there. So to do that, what I want to see is more bid liquidity coming into the range. And we do have some laddering in here, but I want to see these deep concentrations. I want to see, something like this appearing certainly above 60, maybe even above 65. And look, just as we're sitting here, boom, here comes another wall. 35 million just showed up at 70K. Just like that. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of watching these charts in near real time, right? You can see it happen, and the story always changes, right? This, like I said, we saw the sentiment starting to change, the momentum starting to change between the time that I prepared the analysis and the time the analysis started. So you really got to be flexible in this game to and be nimble enough to react to this. So this is interesting, right? Again, maybe they're luring shorts. Maybe they're luring shorts with this, and this gets rugged or moved up, just like we saw this and this and this happen. So be mindful of that. Doesn't mean you can't trade this, right? You can absolutely trade it. You just need to be not greedy, right? Simple as that, because greed is what gets you burned. You stay in it too long and they dump on you. So be prepared for that. Looks like we have a comment here. What's say? Somebody wrote something in a language I can't understand, and I think it's Turkish. So feel free to explain that in English if you want. I'm not going to take time to do Google Translate in the middle of this. Paul said current OI is weirdly high compared to the price movement. Could you cover the open interest? Not really my specialty, but I will tell you, I led this off by saying things seem a little weird. And in my opinion, this is getting some help from some choreography, right? It's getting some help by whales who are moving this liquidity around. And so that's what I'm watching, and that's what I'm in tune to. I have not I've been playing this for a while, obviously, like the rest of us, through the past couple of months. And so far, I'm in good shape. I was overweight on Bitcoin. I scaled out a bit. And of course, in hindsight, I would have done better to scale out higher than I did. I thought we were going to get more of a retest lower, and that was before this, all this stuff got pulled and things moved over the past week. So I'm still in good shape because I'm balanced about to where I want to be in terms of my Bitcoin holdings. But I do have capital that I can buy back in lower if we get that opportunity. So the whole deal for me was I got overextended and I didn't have enough capital to buy lower if we got the opportunity. So now I'm in that situation where I can, if we do get that dip. It can come at any time, even in a bull market. So in terms of other things that I think we need to be watching for this week that I think are significant, especially in terms of news that could be a catalyst to send things moving in one direction or the other. Obviously, the Grayscale news is kind of it's a blip, right? It's a blip on the radar. Yes, it's significant. Yes, it's inherently bullish, I think, but not really a major revolutionary thing in terms of what it means for the market. We do have some speculation on the ETH ETF, which was kicked, Gensler kicked the can down the road again on that one, right? So now it is set for, I think, late June. But the biggest news, and this affects that ETH ETF and everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is that we have new legislation supposed to hit the U.S. House of Representatives this week, and that is a bill called FIT 21. And I posted something in my Twitter channel about it. Let's see if I have that up here. Yes, the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. This hits the House floor here this week. This is a big deal, right? This is the framework that the world has been waiting for. At least the U.S. has been waiting for to see if we can get some regulatory clarity. Here's the summary of it, and there's a great article linked into my Twitter post about this that basically is going to determine if this passes, by the way, right? It still has to pass the House and the Senate and get signed off by the president eventually. So there's some hurdles to cross, but this would basically split up divide the regulatory framework between the SEC and the CFTC. And where ETH falls within that jurisdiction is something that's probably going to be debated, as it has been for quite some time. But nonetheless, just getting that framework is a huge step in the right direction. It's not going to be the answer to all the problems. They're not going to have everything solved overnight, but moving in that direction, getting that regulatory clarity is going to do so much for the industry, so much for the innovators, so much for investors. And quite frankly, I think it is going to open the door to a metric milliton. I don't even know if that's a number, but a heap of institutional money that has been sidelined. And I'm talking major institutional money that has been sidelined waiting for the clarity. People who don't give a shit if they're buying at 72, 52, or 92 because they think prices are going way up in the long term. So that opens the door to a whole nother wave or more of institutional participation. And I think that's a big deal for Bitcoin for sure. So going back to the charts, see if anything changes while we're sitting here talking about this. A couple of questions here I want to field. Would shorting at 69.5 work for today with a wide stop loss at 72, because going for longs just seems like a trap right now? Jonathan, I'm not the guy that's going to give you answers on what you should trade and how you should trade it. I will just tell you the information that I share. Hopefully helps you make those decisions with clarity. I personally, I could tell you in my personal experience that I think this is a really, really risky zone to short, especially with all of the news that's coming up. And if you are doing it, you need to manage your risk and be careful with that leverage, because that's where you get hurt. What I want to see happening here, by the way, and why you may have interest in shorting, and like I don't know if you're here at the beginning of this, but I led this off by saying I felt like this was a trap to lure in shorts, and you could get squeezed as high as 73. I don't think we crossed the all-time high here at this point. I just don't think that there's enough bid-based liquidity or sentiment to sustain that. But I think we could go sniff it. I think we could go lure some people in. So that's what I'm thinking. So yes, and longs are risky too, for sure. That's the game, right? Nothing. If everything was easy all the time, we'd all be millionaires by now. But I think that there's a chance that these shorts are going to get squeezed. What else do you have? Stacks of orders below 66.3? Well, as you can see here, there's not a lot here. There's a little bit. Here's 66.3. I will add some contrast here so you can see, but it's not a ton of volume. There's a ladder there for sure. There is some liquidity there for sure, and it's good to see that flowing in. This to me is more organic than what we see happening here with these blocks moving up and down. So that is good to see. But real support, yes, there's some support at 65. Not a ton. That's only $5 million. This, by the way, is your order book on Binance. Largest exchange in the world by volume, for whatever that's worth. And so we see liquidity stacking a little even lower than 65, down here in this 62 to 64 range. And of course, down to 60K. Things thinning out below that, which is what my concern is, that we just don't have the bid support. So it's cool if if everything below 60K fades and evaporates, that's fine as long as more comes in above it, right? So maybe what we're seeing here is sentiment for more upside. I personally would like to see more. I'd like to see bigger blocks, big institutional ladders coming in to this range to front run this and really push things up. The fact that we're not seeing that is what makes me think that we're not quite ready to take out the all-time high yet. That's my take on it. Kobe Obi says, shorting feels right when 94% people are in profit. Perhaps it does. You got to do what works for you, man. I see it on BTC Perp USD margined order book. Okay, well, what I'm looking at here is spot. So take that for what it's worth. But I appreciate you joining me, and I appreciate the question and the follow. So with that, if there's not any more questions, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one here. You can see just zooming into the 1 day time frame that these brown mega whales just bought again. But look, they bought while purple is selling. So that is notable to me also. And my history with fire charts, which has been since inception, purple has historically had the most influence over Bitcoin price. You can see that they have been buying dips and selling rips a bit, but in the long term, in the net, they have been buying here for quite some time. They sold some profits. I'm zoomed out now to a wider view of the chart. This is the 6-month view, and on this you can see that purple has been buying since the beginning of the year, and they've sold a bit, right? So if this is the normalized view, if this was their max, they sold about 40% of that, and then they started buying back in here on this dip. So that's where we sit at the moment. We'll see how things progress. Again, when we get into these higher time frames, you can see the consolidation of the liquidity. It's easier to spot. So still support concentrated, the biggest level of support concentrated here at the 65K level. and biggest resistance concentrated pretty much right where we're at right now. This has continued to be mobile. Look at that. Boom. More just appeared. So the order book is changing. And this is what is making some people want to short this. And, well, if it moves again, right, here's the problem is they've been spoofing it, right? And so, look, it just moved up. And that's what you got to watch here. Be careful of that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it again. I appreciate the support you guys have been showing me. If you like the content, please do me a favor, smash all the buttons and help me grow this channel. Going to be a busy week around here with all of this news. Oh, did I mention the Fit 21? Oh, I did. We did talk about that as well. So thanks again, guys. Hope that gives you some insight as we head into what I think is going to be a busy week. As always, have a fantastic day and trade safe, my friends.